of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
One last postscript to our conversation with the director, Chris Newberry, of the new Jacob Wetterling documentary. 651 guy writes, I still have the reward poster from the paper Cub bag. Dad hung it up in our basement. I was 3 at the time with 2 older siblings. We grew up in rural Cottage Grove back then, so we lived much like the Wetterlings. It was a truly awful time. That's a very, very eloquent way to put it, for sure.
I believe it.
Top 5 at 5 now. Toy department, what do we have?
Well, on our production meeting, very quickly, were you planning on doing an ode to a dead guy today?
Well, it kind of depends on which one you were talking about.
I'm talking about the man that changed everything. Part of the reason why we might be sitting here in these chairs talking about sports, watching what we're watching.
Well, then I might have missed this one. No, the answer is no. That wasn't who I had in mind.
Bill Rasmussen.
Oh, yes. Go ahead, yeah. You can include it. Sure.
Started ESPN.
Yeah.
May have heard of it.
How many people are even familiar with the name?
Probably
I don't think that many.
I only know it because I'm a Rube, and I'm in, quote-unquote, the business, and I've read books about this. Oh, good for me. Probably the last book I read was probably the James Miller book about the birth of ESPN. It was his vision and his ambition, as ESPN themselves write, in 1979 to launch ESPN. He died in his Florida home today from the effects of Parkinson's disease. His son, Scott, those two, they conceived the initial idea first solely as a Connecticut venture, then as a 24-hour national sports network. Cable wasn't much of a thing in 1979. He had just been fired as the communications director of the New England Whalers, maxed out his credit card, got a $9,000 advance, acquired valuable space on a communications satellite. He knocked on doors, talking to all the major sports leagues, top cable operators, an array of investors. He finally got backing in September 7th in 1979. But it was his vision to go, we're going to do sports, and we're going to make it 24 hours a day. And nobody even knew what the hell he was talking about. Satellites, all these things. And he was the guy. He left a few years after that, but still kind of remained involved. But it was his vision.
It's a little bit like Ted Turner, although Turner obviously was even larger, but it now seems like a no-brainer, right? Because of what has been established and proliferated. It's like, well, anybody could have come up with that. But you have to put it in the context of the time, as you say. Because then nobody had done anything. And nobody had any idea what the possibilities would be. So that's where you got to have the vision to say, here's where this thing might actually get pretty big. Now, maybe he didn't even have any idea it would get as big as it did, but it's easy to think of it now because we're so accustomed to it.
Right.
It's just part of the culture. But it wasn't. Any of that was not the case then. I mean, I remember, what's the timing between when ESPN started and something called CNN-SI?
Yeah.
Because I remember when they coexisted, and I actually liked it. I actually liked having an option. I actually thought there was some stuff that CNN-SI did better.
Sure.
And obviously, there wasn't room for both. I don't think. I don't think CNN-SI exists anymore. Because they had their own bit. They had their own anchors. They had their own, it was, their own sports thing. They had a lot of really good people work
So that
for it.
started in 96.
Okay.
So 17 years later.
So a lot later, yeah. And probably too
CNN
late.
had sports people. Like Dan Patrick worked for
That's true.
CNN.
Yeah.
Bill Hicks, was that one of the guys?
That sounds right.
They had another kind of sports show that was on CNN, but not straight up CNN. Fred Hickman.
Fred Hickman was that what you're thinking of? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he was terrific. Who was his? It was Nick Charles and Hickman. Weren't they a duo?
I think they were.
I think they were outstanding.
Yes.
Really, really good. And I kind of was, again, it wasn't probably practical. They weren't making enough money. But I kind of liked back in the day where you could kind of switch back and forth between the two because I think there were some differences between them.
Would we have ever met Craig Kilborn?
That's a good question. You're right.
Without ESPN?
Without ESPN.
What would Craigers have become?
Is he coming to the fair this year?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think that was a one-off.
Yeah.
It was great, but I think that's. I think
it was 172 degrees that day.
Although I still think there's a better chance that Krager's comes back and does our show from the fair again than Seifert ever does our show from the fair.
Or Aaron Gleeman, who's going to join on Thursday.
That's it. Couldn't you have just lied to him and said, well, no, because you can't lie to him. Because to get him to the fair, he's got to know he's got to go to the fair.
Yeah.
So that wasn't going to work.
Wouldn't help. Yeah. And I try not to lie to our guests. I try to keep a good...
little deception, I think, is considered responsible. Not a lot, a little. Anyway.
Speaking of, well, nothing, Ted Turner, Atlanta Braves, they're in town. Brett Blakemore's going to all the games with his dad. His dad flew in from Atlanta.
Outstanding.
It's classic Blakemore. He's a Braves fan because his dad lives in Atlanta. He's from Wisconsin. No, he's from Iowa. Loves Wisconsin.
Loves the University of Wisconsin.
Loves the Packers.
Loves the Packers.
Doesn't like the Brewers.
No.
Likes the Atlanta Braves.
The Braves, yeah.
And likes soccer, which none of that makes sense.
No.
But he could not have been happy last night because the Twins finally won a ball game. They got a 2-run double from your guy, Josh Bell. The bullpen, including at least one of the new guys, shut down Atlanta, and they win 4-2. So the Twins...
a much-needed victory,
wow.
I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, they snap. I think that was a 3-game losing streak. They've had 2 4-game losing streaks since the All-Star break. And they are back at it tonight with Zebby Matthews opposing Tyler Mahle. Or is it Mahle? I can't remember. I feel like we had him.
I think it's Mahle.
Yeah. So that's what I know. We're 5 games back in the division, if anybody cares. And as I look at the wild card standings, which even I haven't really taken a look at lately.
Well, like I said, we're not that far out, but we got a bunch of teams we're competing with now.
There's 3 teams ahead of us right now, tied for the final wild card spot. We're not going to catch the Red Sox or Yankees. No. They're safely in.
I don't think we're going to catch the Chicago White Sox for the division either, do you?
No. So there's that.
I think that's pretty much over in the White Sox. Did the White Sox beat the Cubs in that game that featured a drunken riot in the outfield?
Let me pull up the scores.
I think the White Sox might have won.
That's the funny part is everyone's talking about the brawl.
No one knows anything about who won.
No, the Cubs won.
They did win.
7-5.
Okay.
Cubs had 7 runs on 14 hits.
Man.
Yeah, scattered, peppered. What did I want to get to? Was there anything Vikings related I wanted to get to today? I don't think so.
Pop quiz. What does ESPN stand for? Writes 218 guy.
Believe it's Entertainment and Sports Programming Network.
Very good.
Yeah.
You passed the test.
Thank you. Nothing to report. It's joint practices for the Vikings tomorrow against Baltimore. Nothing on the Wolves. I can give you a quick Quinn Hughes update if you'd like.
Go ahead. Why not? There's nothing. Oh, I forgot the bit. My bad. I clomped all over your bit.
That's all right. It's still effective.
Yeah.
There's your Quinn Hughes update.
Man.
Nothing there. How about this? And I'm bummed we're not going to have Kessler tomorrow because this is right up his alley. The University of Minnesota made an announcement today.
Wiener Wednesday?
No.
Oh.
But they're starting something new in 2026. And I'm glad because other schools have done this. They're not doing everything that other schools have done, but what are college athletic departments in search of more than anything else right now?
Money.
They're trying to milk everything they can. I'm not announcing a jersey patch. I'm not announcing another logo going on the field. There's no announcements there, but trust me, I'm sure they're working on it. They started something today, Dan, called Minnesota Memories. Minnesota Memories. That is going to start with football and then branch out.
Well, what's the bit?
The bit is different experiences that up until now, money couldn't buy. So an example, you want to go on field for pregame warmups?
Share a jacuzzi with the QB? Stuff like that, you mean?
Well, I don't see that yet.
Not yet. Well, no. It's a possibility.
Actually, I'm surprised the collective Dinkytown Athletes hasn't started that. But you want to be on the field for pregame warmups and you're not one of the big shot donors?
Right. You're right. This has got Kessler written all over it.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Every single one. In fact, the one that got me was the team run out, where you can stand on the field while the team runs out.
So are you bidding or is it a built-in rate?
It's a built-in price, and it depends on the game.
And do we know the price?
So if you want it, so right now, I don't know if it's like...
what's our best home game this year?
Our best home game is probably Michigan.
Yeah, it'd be Michigan, you're right.
Michigan.
So
we've also got Iowa.
If you want to come on the field, you want to get, come out of the tunnel with the team for the Michigan game, what's it going to cost you? Or has it already been sold?
Hang on. $396.
That sounds low.
$400 for that. Well, but you think about it, that's each.
Yeah.
So a family of 4, that's 1,600.
Oh, I see. So you could have. It's not just one person necessarily. It could be several.
How about this? So here's a couple of examples for the pregame. You can watch the pregame band show if you're a band fan. You can go on. That's $56. Mm-hmm. You can do the walk with Gopher football when they get off their buses and go into the locker room. You can walk with that. That's $283. You can be the kickoff kid that runs out and gets the tee.
Oh, gets the tee?
Yes. That's $283. If you want to watch pregame warm-ups for the Michigan game, it's $226. Pregame tunnel, which Kessler has done, the tunnel team, where you just stand in the tunnel and give them high fives as you walk by, $283. Do you want to know what the most expensive pregame option is?
Most expensive pregame option is performing with the baton with the marching band, the baton person who's at the front of the band.
Not a bad guess. I don't see that. They should sell that.
Yeah.
You get to ride with Goldie for the Sky U March, which is the team walking off the bus and fans go meet them there.
Okay.
You can ride with Goldie in the team four-wheeler and lead the team buses to Huntington Bank Stadium pregame. There's only room for 2. The price for that, $1,100.
Per?
Yes.
Wow.
So you can ride with Goldie.
That's considered the most prestigious, apparently.
I guess. So that's like the pregame stuff. In-game stuff, this one caught my attention.
The price is cheaper. If you go week non-conference, you can get in under that price with Goldie, for example.
No.
Oh, that price is set.
Everything's the same.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like everything is the same. There's no...
For every game?
I'm looking at it, yeah. It seems like it.
Every enticement? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't gone down every single game, but Eastern Illinois, the opener, for example, everything looks the same. How about this in-game thing? Where is it? Radio booth visit. Radio booth visit. This is actually funny. Remember the price.
Okay.
Ride with Goldie, over $1,000.
I'm going to say, let me guess it. So this is to get...
Yeah, let me describe it.
Okay.
Get a sneak peek at the Gopher Radio Network booth during the game.
I'm going to say $12.
Not that
Too
far
high?
off. 113.
13. What a shot at Grimm.
I know, and
Daryl, that's true.
He's the second all-time leading rusher. He's Daryl Thompson.
Here's the way it should be. There should be 2 prices for this. $112 to visit. If you're willing to tolerate an extra 20 minutes of Grimm talking your arm off, $250. That's what it should be.
It's true.
Well, actually, no. Should it be actually less expensive? I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah,
no, you got to get more money. The idea is, okay, if you're going to make me put up with this,
yeah.
No, but then you're paying more. That's true. That doesn't even make sense.
Honestly, I feel like the radio, but like everything, radios were undervalued. I feel like Grimm and Daryl, because this has nothing to do with me. I'm on the field.
Yeah. So they got nothing with you, sideline reporter duty?
It doesn't look like it. I'm happy.
Wow.
I'm happy to sell.
That's devastating.
If they want to shadow me for a quarter, I'm happy to let them make money off that.
That's devastating.
You can be part of the T-shirt toss. Throw T-shirts into the stands. You did that at a Wolves game, speaking of Craigers.
Not very well. How about this? How about this?
That's funny. $113 to go see Grimm.
What about the PJ post games? You surf the players in the locker room with PJ.
That's
a natural.
Yeah, that's priceless.
I bet you could get $1,000 easy for that per person. Don't you think?
Yeah, because post-game, they just had, you can watch the post-game band show on the field. You can stand with the team when they do the team song, and then you can take pictures on the field after the game. There are some schools that have sold, you can go to the press conference. You can go to the press conference. That I don't see here. I imagine we got some good ones. Some good texts.
Some really good ones. Well, 651 guy wants to know how much to call a run play on a critical 3rd and 8 from the Gophers' own 30. It writes itself.
They've got Drake Lindsay now.
You
got
can't
a first-round quarterback.
Yeah, we don't want to throw too much, though.
That's funny.
That's pretty good, though.
That's funny.
Very nice.
So anyway, yeah, if I'm Grimm, I feel like that's the best value. You get to go up into the press box.
Yeah, that's a good value.
Grimm and Daryl, they are extremely fun to be around. I get to do it every week. $113? I think people should do that. I'd be surprised if those last until the opener.
Not a bad gig.
To me, I think that's the best value. By the way, they are going to be doing this for volleyball, for men's and women's basketball, for men's and women's hockey. Gophersports.com for all the info there. But that cracks me up. Goldie's over $1,000. Grimm, $112. That hurts.
And an extra $25 will get you to get Grimm to rip the refs.
I was waiting for that.
On cue.
Yes.
Right on time.
Yeah, exactly right.
There's a lot of fun to be had with this. There's no question about that.
So anyway, sorry we missed the straddle, but I thought that was funny.
That's outstanding. That's very, very good work. All right, we missed the straddle. Should we just go to 27? No, let's go ahead and break now.
Yeah, we can.
We'll do a shorty and get back on schedule.
You're listening.
Talkbacks for tickets. 40-plus years of iconic hits will take the stage at the Minnesota State Fair. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis on August 29th. We've got a pair of tickets to be there. Just hit the talkback. Tell us why you want to go. Tell us about anything. Plus, 2 Minnesota State Fair admission tickets as well. Hit the talkback for tickets. Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis at the Minnesota State Fair.
St. Cloud writes, I'd pay a couple $100 to shoot the T-shirt cannon.
Yeah, that would be fun.
715 guy writes, I'd pay $700 to do the homework for the Gopher basketball team. That's an oldie, but a goodie. It sounds almost archaic in 2026, but those of us old enough to remember, I think might relate to it and perhaps enjoy it to a certain degree. How much to get Grimm to throw in an anonymous movie quote? What does that mean? Is that an inside joke?
That's his bit that he used to do with the power trip.
Oh, I see. Okay,
which
gotcha.
Was brilliant.
Gotcha. Gophers are going to lose money having to hire so many new students to chaperone these events. That could be the fatal flaw.
Hopefully that's built into the price.
Yeah, it better be.
Yep.
How much to shine PJ's head before the game? It'd be a good bit, wouldn't it?
I think PJ would probably let you do it, too.
Lawyer Tom wants to know, how much can I get if I stand on the sideline and steal the other team's signals?
Are you nuts?
Huh. J.J. McCarthy might be able to do that on Saturdays.
You might have time when you're a third stringer, right? There's not much to do. Aren't you just kind of scout team?
Yes.
To a certain extent?
Yeah, you're not even active on game day.
That's sort of the way I think it works at this point.
This is the end, my only friend, the end.
We spent a decent amount in the 5 o'clock hour of Friday's show, the day you were out, finally discussing the Atlantic story about the cities that have said yes to drugs, and a deeply reported, very incisive story that asked questions of some progressive cities, whether they sort of lost the thread in their effort to deal with drug addiction in some major cities, including Seattle, Washington, for example. Here's the perfect postscript to that piece, and I'm not making this up. There's a group in Seattle called We Heart Seattle. Here's what they just tweeted out, I think yesterday. We Heart Seattle needs your help. The state is investigating us for, quote, improper handling of drug needles and fentanyl foil, unquote, in our parks. The process is expected to take months. Our temp agency is under investigation as well. We are being asked to produce a long list of documents, including disciplinary action files. Think about the implications there. This is a group that makes it their mission to clean up the drug paraphernalia mess as it infests portions of that city. And some faceless, jackass bureaucrat decides, well, let's mess with them. Let's be sure that they are handling the stuff that the rest of us are just avoiding or tolerating the right way, procedurally speaking. Are they disposing of this stuff correctly? Now, keep in mind, if they don't do whatever they're doing for disposal, it is in the most dangerous place possible, especially around kids. It's on grass. It's in the streets. It's in the parks. The tone deafness that this particular story underscores, it would be good onion material. It would be funny if it were not so pathetic and not so sad. So they're actually looking for donations to help them deal with whatever the defense fund is that they're going to have to be dealing with here to mess with this. Again, perception matters in these stories. It's part of the story. And if you're in the town and you are raising your hand in approval from the Atlantic piece that attempts to question a lot of the policies that have been played out in some of these cities in recent years, Seattle included, I'm sure you're shaking your head and saying, you have to be kidding me. How do you even if you feel that technically speaking, you have the right to do it, do you have any awareness around you, politically speaking? Any awareness of the perception that this lays out? But it's the perfect postscript, as I said, to the story that I highly recommend via The Atlantic by one of our favorite writers who we quoted a lot on this show and a number of different stories that he has indeed done. We're wide open the rest of the way, right? We're guest free?
Correct.
I mentioned yesterday, I teased this yesterday, that we might have someone in the women's basketball community, a big name, a legendary name, who might kind of sort of be attempting to convey a more sensible message for the WNBA. Did anybody else notice it? Did anybody else pay attention to it? Am I reading too much into it? We'll get into that story. I'll apparently pay off a tease regarding bad blood between Dan Patrick and me, and it's not really bad blood, but I think they heard us talk late about the phone situation. And for those not familiar with that backstory, we'll pass that along as well and perhaps get to a couple of others before we wrap things up at 6:30 here in the Fan.
You're listening to Barrero on the
Will you please leave that dangerous drug paraphernalia on the swings and on the slide? Just leave it there. What are you doing trying to pick it up and get rid of it? Oh my God. We're in a strange world. There's no question about that. Final half hour of a very special edition of the Bumper to Bumper program. 64686. That is the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Let me ask you about, I mentioned the WNBA conversation we've had quite a bit. But a couple of interesting observations. Everybody's trying to do how does the WNBA better navigate the position that it seems to be in, where everybody's trying to get in on co-opting it for their own political purposes, etc. And interesting column by a guy out of the Boston Globe. I don't know this individual, Christopher Gasper. Do you know the name?
Do not.
He writes, the product in the court has arguably never been better or better received. At the All-Star break, attendance was announced as up 16%. Two-thirds of the 15 teams are drawing 10,000 fans or more per home game. He goes on, does Gasper, to say this, or write this. It would behoove the WNBA to develop a thicker skin. Big girls don't whine. But it would also behoove the league if it were more proactive in boxing out those who want to appropriate the WNBA product for their culture crusades. The league is walking a fine line between courting widespread appeal and protecting the loyal audience and inclusive principles that crafted its ethos. We've talked about that. You can't do it. That's what somebody is going to have to give this league the hard truth on this. As painful as it might be. You're not going to be able to walk that line. You open the door, you're going to open the door to people whose politics you don't appreciate. Michael Jordan said it a long time ago. He got ripped for it. What did he say? It was infamous.
Republicans buy sneakers too?
Yes. That if you want to be a worldwide phenomenon that goes beyond the bubble, then that's going to be part of the price to pay, and there's not anything you can do about it because those are customers. Piggybacking on that, Dawn Staley. You familiar with her? The legendary women's basketball coach at the University of South Carolina.
Remember when she tried to fight Gino in the Final Four this year?
Yeah, that was
great.
That was not a good scene.
It was like Cubs White Sox.
Well, yeah, and we don't think booze was involved.
No.
In this particular case.
Unlikely. What'd she have to say?
Here's Dawn Staley. All the big pieces and all the things that are happening from a racial standpoint, from an officiating standpoint, are great. They're great because the NBA went through it. The NBA went through all of it. So this is just badges of honor. Will we get through it? We will get through it. I think she's on to the case a little bit.
Pretty sensible, yeah.
I think she's saying you don't have to love all of it. And she's right. I mean, we talked about this a week or two ago, that it's possible it's just they're not used to it in the league, and that as time goes on, it will become easier to get used to it because the NBA has had some of these battles. They did back in the day. WNBA is just in a different place. But I thought it was a pretty good way to look at it. She's almost saying it's same thing that we're talking about. It's part of the deal. And if you are determined, you can indeed kind of get through it, right?
Doesn't have to be that difficult in a way.
Exactly.
If
you allow it to.
Yes, if you just kind of keep doing what you're doing.
The league did, I think, say, was it the league or a team? What team demanded that a couple of fans cover their shirts that I think were in solidarity with the Sophie Cunningham position and that they had to be covered?
Yes, that was in Atlanta while the Fever were there. Now, the WNBA has put out a statement. When was this? Late last night about that?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Basically saying that security was wrong.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. So it was the NBA or the WNBA that said it?
The WNBA put out a statement that said security should not have had those fans in Atlanta cover their shirts. In any case, I thought that was I liked the tone. Now, maybe I'm getting the context wrong. I don't know if it was part of a larger quote from her. That's the only thing I found regarding what Dawn Staley had to say. It almost sounds like she's saying, I'm not going to give you a lengthy essay on we're not going to let this, tear us apart. It's part of what any of these leagues go. We just might be in a little bit different place, and we're not as accustomed to it. Right, growing pains.
It's part of what it's part of the process. Now, I've got another. Oh, I'll pay off the Dan Patrick tease, and it's really not much of a payoff. So when I kid about Dan Patrick, once upon a time, many years ago, I did back in the days before it was a TV show too. This was in the radio days, frankly. I had the chance to substitute host the program, and I did it once from Chicago.
Yeah.
A terrible time. It was like the day after Christmas. Yes. It was a tough time.
It was holidays.
And then it was at least once or twice here. You did one with me, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I did them all.
Did you do them all?
Yeah.
I think actually Pops Westerman did one with me.
That was back. ESPN. I remember that. I remember this story.
I don't remember doing ESPN. When did I do ESPN?
I don't know. You did it like 20 years ago. Yeah, I don't think it was Dan Patrick.
God. Yeah. I remember doing ESPN. Mm-hmm. Well, regardless.
Yes.
And we've kidded because it hasn't happened lately. The call thing was the last time I appeared as a guest, because I used to be I would say a regular guest, but I was on periodically when a Minnesota story would break.
You were the guy.
I became the guy briefly. But what killed it was he gets very unhappy if the landline, for some reason, doesn't come through. And I don't even know. I was on a landline, but the signal went bad. And he has less patience for that than anything.
Fair to say Lavelle has never been a guest on Dan Patrick's show.
That's also true. I can still remember what he said. How can this happen, Fritzy?
Yeah.
So how can this happen? He was, and that was the last time I was on.
I know.
That goes back 10 years, maybe longer.
At least, yeah.
Might even be longer.
You were on a lot during the Favre era.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
The Favre search was big.
The Silver Fox era was.
Yes, which today's the day I think
big.
He came.
Yeah.
Or it was announced that he was coming, according to Minnesota. So we're talking, 17 years ago. That's crazy that Favre came here. That was the Dan Barrero era of Dan Patrick.
That was it.
We had a good vibe with all of them back then.
It was all good back then, and now things change. It's okay. I'm all right with it. I've moved on with the rest of my life. This story ordinarily would not be worth a minute. But there's a very specific reason that it is worth at least 2 or 3 minutes. Just bear with me, be patient, and I think you'll find this payoff decent at the very least. This is, I don't know the publication. This is from NBA Rumors Basket. It's some international pro basketball website. Read you a couple sentences from this. The Ligue, I hope I may be pronouncing that wrong, Ligue Nationale de Basket, LMB, has officially issued a financial penalty to Paris Basketball following a series of controversial social media posts during their playoff run last May. The incident occurred during their high-stakes series against SIG Strasbourg, sparking a heated exchange between the two French clubs. After losing Game 2 of the series away in Strasbourg, Paris Basketball released a compilation on their social media accounts where they accused a Strasbourg player named William Pfister of intentionally injuring their player. Quote, 4 times in 10 minutes, Strasbourg player William Pfister does not play the ball, but the man to hurt him, the club alleged in the post. Until he injured Sebastian Herrera, how many players will we have to lose before action is taken? That was especially to the referees, that part of the message. Herrera's injury was fortunately not serious, and he returned to the court soon after. Post was later deleted after the Strasbourg president contacted the organization to report the accusation. However, the content remained accessible for approximately 15 hours on Paris Basketball's Facebook account. And given the page's reach of nearly 70,000 followers, the post generated significant negative reactions and public scrutiny before it was eventually removed. The commission considered the post to constitute, quote, harm to the image of the competition and its participants, referring the club to the disciplinary process. And they met the organization, I guess the deans of discipline on July 22, ultimately handed Paris Basketball a 2-part penalty, a 1,500 euros immediate fine, an additional 1,500 euros suspended fine as well. The president of Paris Basketball is, of course, our guy, the meerkat, David Kahn.
So he had to put down the punishment.
He had to, he had to pay the fine.
Oh, he had to pay the fine.
His team was the one who made the accusations. His team is the one that did poorly, did not handle a loss very professionally. Does that shock you?
It does not.
How good is that for So the meerkat is omnipresent. He is still making news across the pond, even as most of us have tried to move on and forget about him. And the kicker is, I'm reading this story and I'm going, well, there's got to be a million pro teams around Paris. It can't be David Kahn's team. So I find the name of the team.
Of course it was.
I find the directory, David Kahn, president. You can't make it up.
Who just hired the Wolves assistant, right? That's the last time that this came up. One of the Wolves assistant coaches just went over to be the head coach for that team, right? I want to say.
Yeah, you're right. That's true.
I think one of the back row guys, one of the second row guys, I think, is going over there to work for David Kahn, which is an interesting choice.
Oh, my God. Yeah, well.
Don't you really have to do some vetting, especially if you're a Minnesota Timberwolves assistant coach? Like, don't you have to ask Jeff Munichie a couple of questions? You'd like to think so. To see what's going on, but good luck to him. He's walking into an interesting situation, it sounds like. It's just
the best. All right, this has kind of turned into a potpourri section or segment. Well, actually, we could break now, couldn't we?
We could.
We could break now.
Yeah.
I'll come back just for the purposes of separation. I have another A-Section story that caught my attention today that I want to get reaction from the Rubes on. I've got some texts coming in, going all the way back to our conversation with our in-studio guest between, 4 and 5 on his new Jacob Wetterling documentary, which is getting a lot of attention locally and potentially, will end up national as well. So we'll kind of do combo platter the rest of the way. Reminder, our hope to do the Wednesday and Thursday shows from TCO Performance Center foiled because joint practice schedules indicate that all the action is going to be over by 2. Since we start at 3, doesn't do us a hell of a lot of good to be out there, right? Other than just the sake of, I guess, habit.
But you know what our training camp walk-off was this year?
It was as good as it gets, isn't it?
We respect our friends in the bird community.
I mean, we're not topping that.
He couldn't even get that off with a straight face, could he? And he's got kind of a deadpan look to him, but...
We respect our friends in the bird community.
It's as good as it gets.
This is Bumper to Bumper.
Vikings related you want to get off your chest? We talked with Kevin Seifert much earlier in the program. He is, by the way, for the record, he is convinced that the running game revolution is real.
That was his headline.
Now, I don't think he's saying he knows it's going to be wildly successful, but that the commitment is real. And I hope he's right, because we've been clamoring for basically that sort of revolution for a number of years. Nothing could make any quarterback's job easier than a commitment to that bid. And again, it'll probably depend on opponent and circumstance. You're not going to be able to run the same against everybody, nor is it even smart to want to do that, depending on strengths and weaknesses. But if you have anything else Vikings related on your mind, 64686, Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN text line.
You know what had me thinking about the running game?
What's that?
For the Vikings as well earlier this week? Well, when I say Lane Kiffin, besides the fact that he's Lane Kiffin and there's always drama and seeming scandals that follow him wherever he goes, what do you think of when you think Lane Kiffin offense? Or what would come to mind?
I'm not sure. Well, nothing in particular to me. I don't know what his trademark would be. Well, it's wide open.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hip now, with it, wow.
Right.
Loosey-goosey, all of it. Now I'm leading the witness. Do you know whose team over the last 6 years led the SEC in rushing offense in the total of those 6 years?
I'm going to guess you did. Given you led the witness, it's
Lane Kiffin.
It's not Alabama.
Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
Ole Miss. Nobody rushed for more rushing yards than Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss team the last 6 years. And I just heard that on a couple of college shows this week that I was talking about, because you wouldn't think that, right? You'd think he's gadget guy, he's trick plays, he's this, but he's meat and potatoes. And I think it speaks to, they were pretty good, obviously. They made the college football playoff a year ago. They had a great quarterback. He's at LSU now. But I think it speaks like you have to be able to do it. Like even the teams that are more progressive or more cutting edge know that is the most important part of football, is somehow establishing the run. Anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think we've got a lot of, you could say coaches who are known as great passing coaches who show surprising respect for the run.
Sean McVay would be one of them.
That's the guy I'm thinking of immediately is right? Exactly it. Those are two of them. You're 100% right. So, and by the way, it's not, people kind of misinterpret, as a texter who just came in did. It's not whether you run the ball a great amount. It's how you do it, precisely when you do it, and how effective you are doing it. So we're well aware that the Vikings ran more last year, especially with JJ struggling, out of necessity than they ever have before. The issue is, again, how effective you are doing it. I'm not asking for more running plays than passing plays. It's what the revolution in terms of the different blocking approach, the new coaches being brought in, all this acknowledges is that very point that if it was just about how often you were running, then we would keep it the same way as last year. What the head coach is now acknowledging is I had to have an epiphany, and we got to do things a lot differently, a lot more physical. The outside zone included, all of this stuff is indicative of finally an understanding that the status quo was not going to give us the best chance to indeed succeed. Okay. This is out of A-Section today. I'm curious to get your view on this, and it's a Star Tribune piece noting that there's a new Minnesota law that makes it illegal to charge children under 13 years old. And the story notes that we've got possibly the first significant test of this new law when an 11-year-old stabbed an 18-year-old multiple times in the entrance to a St. Cloud grocery store. The victim and store patrons held the 11-year-old down until police arrived and took the boy to St. Cloud Hospital. The attack came 3 days, I think this is a Jeff Day story, 3 days after a law known as Raise the Age went into effect on Aug 1. Previously, children under 10 could not be charged with a crime in Minnesota. Now, it's children under age 13. The law passed the legislature actually in 2024, and it makes no exceptions for the severity of crime committed and designates the child who committed the crime as being in need of state protection or services. The St. Cloud Police Chief, Chief Jeffrey Oxton, said his department had been working closely with Stearns County Human Services and the county attorney's office to implement the law change, and he praised the county's response to the stabbing, especially since it happened so soon after the law went into effect. But Oxton said the law remains worrisome for police. He said he does not want 10 to 12-year-olds held in juvenile detention for indefinite periods of time, but the legislature has not provided the support needed to make alternatives work. Here's his direct quote. We've been making this known. There's no resources for these kids in the state. There's no beds. There's no detention places that can hold kids that are at risk, absent a juvenile detention facility, which will only take a kid charged with a crime. There is no place. We can work as well together as possible. We can be as innovative as we can. But if there's no place, what do you do? That's the nub of the story to me.
That last sentence is the key.
I can listen to the idea of this law being implemented or changed. I think there's arguments that can be made for it. But isn't it borderline irresponsible to vote in this kind of change and not provide the support necessary to give this a chance to even operate? To me, you literally can't have one without the other. And if you say, we'll get to it somewhere down the road, aren't you dooming it to failure? And again, to me, it's irresponsible. Now, here's a quote from Sarah Davis, the director of the Children and Families Division of the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. She worked extensively, this Star Tribune piece notes, to get Raise the Age passed. While she agreed resources are lacking, she argued it's a need that has been neglected by the state for years and didn't change the necessity of the law. We do need the state to invest in the resources that our communities need to provide support to children with complex behavioral and mental health needs. To the degree that our child protection system has been using a juvenile detention center and the delinquency system and correctional facilities as a backstop for elementary age children, it's not appropriate and it doesn't work. I'll say again, she knows a hell of a lot more than I would about this, but it's not a good enough answer. If you want to implement, pass this sort of law, a prerequisite, if there's any leadership, politically speaking, left or right, doesn't even matter. If there's any leadership, they say, we can feel good about ourselves for righting what we think is a wrong, and we can pat ourselves on the back for it. But if we're not finding a way to find the money and the places for these individuals to go with this new system, then we're the frauds. So to me, that's the rub of this particular story. It may be fine in theory, but it's like any of these programs. If you believe in them, you have to pay for them. Now, again, there's a million constraints on the budget. There's debates where you get, where you find money, all that kind of good stuff. But it just doesn't make any sense. The availability to place children in those facilities has been a consistent challenge in Minnesota. Star Tribune reported in 2024 that while the number of kids entering the juvenile justice or social service systems with complex needs had grown in recent years, the number of licensed residential treatment facility beds for children had shrunk by more than a third since 2005. There's a quote from Greg Kleinfelter, VP of the Minneapolis Police and Peace Officers Association, a sergeant at the St. Cloud Police. The people that are going to be most affected by this are Health and Human Services. There's going to be significant challenges in our first 24 hours of response, basically saying, when we get these juveniles without secure detention, where are we going to take them? Well, again, to me, it's an irresponsible law to pass if you haven't already ensured an answer to that question. I just don't understand how we talk about nuance all the time. I don't think there's any gray area in this case. In fact, if you are believers in this change, you more than anybody should be invested in the notion that we got to give this a chance to work. And the only chance we give it to work is if we have the places to go and the resources as well. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, what you do with it on the unusual nature of this situation, I don't remember too much about the stabbing. Do you?
I don't, no.
11-year-old stabbing an 18-year-old multiple times in the entrance. It's a horrible, absolutely horrible story. That part I don't know. And I just, 64686, you have anybody who wants to get in on this conversation. But it just, to me, it just screamed for, well, are you in touch with the people who passed this bill or who championed this bill? I'm talking about the legislative leaders. How do you, in good conscience, especially if you believe in it, pass it without having in play, finding a way to get to the money that will, give this whole thing I guess you could say, the best opportunity to successful?
You're kind of just changing the problem.
You're right. You're moving it around.
You're not fixing the problem. You're identifying a problem. Yes, I think there can be conversation about what you do in these situations. You've identified the problem, but I don't think you're really solving it if it just moves the problem to a different area and brings up a totally different issue. It doesn't really feel like anything is resolved.
Here's another quote from, is it Kleinfelter? Where does the accountability come in? The juvenile justice system, when they do secure detention, it's not so much about being locked up as it is about getting the process started to be able to get to the right help for some of these kids that need it. I think what the legislators don't get is the secure detention aspect of all this. All it does is buy us time. It buys us time to get that person in a safe environment that gives them a moment of accountability. I just, to me, again, I'm not even arguing about whether it's the right decision, which I think can be debated. But if you grant that, as one of the leaders who tried to get this thing changed is admitting that there does need to be, let me get the direct quote here from the woman out of Sarah Davis out of the Hennepin County's attorney's office. We do need the state to invest in the resources that our communities need to provide support to children with complex behavioral and mental health needs. Okay. But don't you, I would argue you got to do that. You got to have the mechanism in place first before you pat yourself on the back for making a change that you think is long in coming. And I don't know, maybe in a real world political sense, it's, well, we get it. We got the votes. We're going to get it passed now. And then we'll ratchet up the pressure after the fact. But what does that leave? Where does that leave law enforcement? They're stuck in the middle of this, even if they're trying to do the right thing about where these kids end up in the system. I just don't think it makes all that much sense. 64686, Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN, text line. Let me get to a couple of texts here. I haven't looked into the bill that allows 13-year-olds and younger not to be charged with a felony crime, but I'm very curious to what other bills were attached to this one and or which ones this was attached to. Maybe something Kessler would have some insight on. That's the original Tony Zamboni guy. Well, it's a subject that we could explore with him. I think he's not going to be with us tomorrow, as it turns out, but it's worthy of pursuit, I think, because it's a pretty big change. Now, again, what are the numbers? I mean, how many kids does this really affect? I assume it's still not a large number, although we've certainly seen, sadly, patterns indicate where we're all occasionally gobsmacked by the age of those responsible for, these sorts of crimes. And in this case, what sounds to be like a very serious stabbing.
That's a tough one.
Very tough, for sure. Would this change without a place to bring them maybe light a fire to make that change more effective faster? I think that's the wrong question. You could say, again, I mentioned maybe it's the strategy, but what gives the strategy the best chance? What gives the change the best chance to succeed? The system's already being in place. Aren't you asking, especially if you believe in it, aren't you asking for it to be a rough go or a rough start? To me, they have to be connected. Any of these programs in which I think there's an attempt to speak to humanity, to attempt to work with especially youngsters and not just obviously send them into prison like they're hardened criminals, there has to be the places for them to go. The mechanisms need to be in place, or I think you're actually making, to a certain extent, you might be making the problem even worse. Dan, I missed the Seifert segment. Did he tease any big-name free agent pickups still available? We didn't talk about that. How many big names are left? I don't even know.
We really talked about the Harrison Smith thing. Did
I see the Bears pick up or talk about picking up Marcus Davenport? Didn't we have him? Didn't we have Marcus Davenport as an outside pass rusher many years ago?
Yes, that sounds familiar.
I think he's one of those guys on the open market. The Bears have a huge need still for their pass rush is not very good. I thought I heard they were either talking about him or maybe even had already signed him. I'm not sure which. But no, he didn't bring it up. I don't know how many other names are out there, and he doesn't think on Harrison Smith it's any more or less likely that he's going to come back on the basis of the Jamal Adams injury. He thinks it's going to be, he wants to do it, he's going to do it. If he doesn't want to do it, he's not going to do it, because Adams still was viewed more as probably going to be a combo platter guy, a situational player, not a guy who was necessarily going to start at safety, right?
Yes.
So one thing might not have anything to do with the other. Let's get a pause in now, our final pause of today's program. Couple of reminders of what you missed earlier in the program, and we'll prepare you for a very busy show tomorrow, beginning at 3.
You're listening to Barrero on The Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK.
Show wrap presented by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the bumper-to-bumper show wrap.
Very special program today. A decent amount of controversy early. Minnesota Vikings related. Kevin Seifert joined us at what time? About 3:15?
Yes.
That was his time. And we talked a lot of J.J. McCarthy more in, what the future might hold. That's the obvious question now that we know Kyler is pretty much in charge. We had an in-studio guest between 4 and 5. His name, Chris Newberry. He is the director of a new documentary called Echoes in the Night, The Search for Jacob Wetterling. And it was a very interesting hour as he talked about gaining access, getting the access, basically talking to the Wetterling family, proposing this idea of getting pretty remarkable access as they continue to deal with the tragedy. At that point, when they first started latching up, there was no resolution in the case. In fact, it was about the time that Heinrich was first arrested or again identified as a person of interest in this case.
That's crazy.
They started, it was like that week that they started their close-up access. And that's, of course, when the story changed rather dramatically. And again, the most frustrating aspect probably about you promote a documentary like this, people want to see it. And there are a number of screenings throughout the state, but certainly going to be a bunch in the Twin Cities, too. I think the most current one this Thursday is in St. Michael. But there's going to be some in Minneapolis, et cetera, coming up. But people want to see it. They want, when is it going to be streamed? It will be available on one of the streams, whatever. That eventually is the plan. That's probably the frustrating part right now, is just how widely it is available. But eventually, that's the hope. That's the plan. I guess that's yet to be determined.
JacobWetterlingFilm.com is the easiest way to find the theatrical schedule. And you mentioned St. Michael. It's there for a week. Multiple screenings a day. Then it goes to Montevideo, same deal. It's actually about the same week. It's playing in Woodbury on the 25th, Minneapolis at the main cinema August 28th through the 3rd. It's in Edina.
Ah, that's right. He did mention Edina's coming up.
September 10th to the 17th, and then it's in a bunch of man theaters mid-September as well. So it's going to be available. Like, obviously, like he said, the hope is that you can watch it at your home
eventually,
at some point. Right. But it's going to be shown all over the metro, as well as some places outstate closer to St. Joseph, where Jacob was from. But JacobWetterlingFilm.com.
The toughest part, as he talked about, was they had so much to draw from, and it's not. They didn't want to do a 5-hour documentary. So the editing process is the challenge. It's where the best directors work, but it's also, when you consider all the twists and turns in this case, and all the elements that you're trying to incorporate, that's the trick, is what you include. Hell, some of the stuff that he talked to us about that was on the editing floor was fascinating to me. And that's part of where you can't include everything that you want, what's included, what is not. And we talked a lot about the obvious. You're intruding. They've agreed to let you intrude. But the art is intruding as deftly as you can to get access that makes the project worthy without stepping over the line constantly in a way that then makes you feel like you have failed as a human being, right? It's a tough process, because in truth, in my experience, when I've been around, watched people who work in documentaries, the best ones, they come in they don't have much of a bedside manner, because in the end, they're even willing to accept some heat and some pushback under the guise of, I'm trying to get the most honest film I can, and so therefore I'm going to push. I'm going to push maybe even more than I should. Now, in his case, I think he said very hard to back off. And indeed, during that period when Jacob's remains were located, they did. They backed off because that's what the Wetterlings wanted. Even with that access, they wanted that access to be more limited. So all of that was part of what our discussion was. If you missed it, podcast between 4 and 5 o'clock. Looks to me like we got Indiana-Toronto, WNBA. Caitlin Clark's club up 7. Late first quarter. I don't know. No, Toronto's terrible.
One of the expansion teams.
Indiana has moved up to 4th in the standings. They're 23-12. She's been, I think, playing pretty well. Has
That'd
she
be
not?
An interesting little semifinal.
That's true. Yeah, you're right about that.
Lynx and Fever.
Yeah. Well,
Lynx right now are massive betting favorites to win the title.
Are they really?
Yeah, I saw Bill Simmons
on the apparently in the Athletic WNBA Power Rankings, it looks like they try every which way to name somebody else number one.
Well, of course they do. Just like they're not going to give Olivia Miles the MVP, and I think she probably deserves it.
Yeah, well, she's certainly got to be top 2, doesn't she?
We're flyover country.
Yeah, I guess that's what we knew. So that'll be our bulletin board material. Will Cheryl Reeve use that?
She loves that.
Does she like that kind of stuff?
She loved it during the Dynasty era. She talked about it all the time. Think about it. Think about this, Dan. They had Taurasi. They were going up against Candace Parker. Like, there were some big stars they were going up against that got more shine in that era.
That's true. You're right.
And so she reveled in that.
That's true. By the way, speaking of flyover country, did you see how poorly our Field of Dreams game did? Ratings in the tank.
Really?
Compared to the last Field of Dreams game, yeah.
Who was the last one?
Who did we play? Who was our opponent? The Phillies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't like us. They're bored with us, apparently.
Interesting.
I
can't be mad. I didn't even go. I could have gone, and I didn't.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm still mad.
Very, very true, Davey. Tomorrow is usually a Kessler day, but he's out. Do we have anything on the hopper right now, or is it a Talker Tuesday on a Wednesday?
We have Alec Lewis in the 5 o'clock hour tomorrow.
Good enough.
So
he'll be able to react to day one of the 2-day joint scrimmaging. Joint practices.
Can we do the 5 o'clock hour? It will give me enough time to write a Pulitzer Award-winning story on Lamar Jackson.
Oh, interesting.
Who will be at TCL. That'd be a fun day to actually go to camp to see Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, you're right.
And others.
Yeah, for sure. And so we're not going to be out there either day because the times don't work for us.
They're done at 2.
Thursday, Gleeman in studio, is that correct? We'll catch up on the fading Twins, although we did get a victory last night. How are we drawing right now? I haven't even been paying attention.
I don't know either. I'm guessing sparsely.
Any other good ideas for that new Gopher plan to raise NIL money?
Were there any in the text line? I didn't get any tweets about it. I don't think. Most of them, Kessler, is that why Kessler's out tomorrow? Is he just
bidding on everything?
All this stuff?
Yeah, he might. Yeah, and for those who missed it, basically you trying to make some dough is saying, okay, we got certain prices. If you want to come out of the tunnel with the team,
there's a price for that.
There's a price for that. There's a price for everything, even hanging with Mike Grimm and Daryl Thompson in the radio booth, right?
Yes.
And nothing for you hanging with the sideline reporter, which makes even more sense because you're down on the field.
Maybe they think I'm unapproachable. Maybe they think I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Maybe I put out that vibe.
I guess it's possible. I think it's got some possibilities, especially if they widen out.
It does,
and get a little bit more creative with it and have a sense of humor about it.
Yes, for sure.
We'll see where it indeed goes. Fan and a man in the air, as usual. Is Dan Patrick still on vacation? Who's in for him? Do you know?
Well, I know Tony Reale filled in a little bit last week. I don't know if he's doing it this week or not.
Do the Danettes still do it with whoever the guest host is, or do they leave too?
I think this week everybody's off. Last week, because Dan Patrick's daughter got married.
Oh.
So they had a lot of fun, as you can imagine, with his speech, like how it was going to go. Was he going to cry? Would they film it and make it content? That was one of their bits.
I don't think he's a crier. I don't think Dan Patrick's a crier.
He said he would blubber immediately.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said